The sky above Verona burned with streaks of red and gold as the twin suns began their slow descent. From her tower window, Princess Lyra watched the light shimmer across the polished spires of the capital city. The sight should have filled her with pride. After all, she was the daughter of Emperor Zarkon, ruler of the greatest empire in this sector of the galaxy. But pride had long since turned into unease. Every day she watched the cruelty and control her father imposed on the people of Verona and the worlds under his dominion. The empire thrived on fear, not respect, and she could no longer stand by and do nothing. Lyra had always been clever, perhaps the cleverest of her generation. She learned to navigate court politics, hide her opinions, and obey her father's commands with a careful smile. But recently, whispers of a horrifying plan had reached her ears. The Emperor intended to expand his control over nearby star systems, including human-inhabited planets, turning millions into slaves to power his war machines. The thought sickened her. She had spent her life being told to serve the Empire. But this was different. She could not allow it. She moved away from the window and walked to the secret chamber she had built in the palace's east wing. It was small, barely large enough to hold a shuttle pod and a storage unit, but it was her sanctuary. Her hands traced the controls of the pod. It was old, outdated compared to the Empire's fleet, but it was fast and stealthy. No sensors could detect it if she cloaked it properly. She had been preparing for this moment for months, quietly storing supplies and studying the navigational routes that could take her away from Verona. Her heart pounded. She was leaving everything behind, her family, her title, her world. Yet she knew that if she did not act now, the lives of countless beings would be lost. The pod's hatch opened with a soft hiss. Lyra stepped inside, her fingers brushing over the controls one last time. She paused, thinking of her people. Some would understand, some would never forgive her. But the choice had already been made in her mind. She could not stay. The launch was precise and silent. The pod rose above the palace with the cloaking field engaged, slipping past the city's defenses without a single alarm triggered. Lyra's eyes scanned the stars, following the pre-programmed path she had memorized. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine freedom, not just for herself, but for all the oppressed worlds under her father's rule. Meanwhile, far away in a human-controlled space sector, Captain Ethan Rains was finishing a routine patrol. His ship, a nimble scout-class vessel, hummed softly as it moved through the edge of the solar system. Ethan was not a typical pilot. He was clever, daring, and had a habit of following anomalies when others would turn away. On this day, his sensors detected a small object moving unnaturally through the outer asteroid belt. He frowned. Nothing on the star charts matched its trajectory. Curiosity tugged at him. Ethan maneuvered his ship closer, scanning the object. It was unlike anything he had seen before. Smooth and metallic, its shape suggested intelligence. And then, just as he began to mark it for reporting, the object shifted its course and disappeared behind a nearby asteroid. Ethan's instincts told him this was no ordinary craft. He adjusted his course, following the signals. On the Verona pod, Lyra's navigation systems detected something strange. Human technology, she realized, was approaching. It moved quickly, intelligently, and without the predictable patterns of Imperial vessels. Her heart skipped a beat. She had planned to reach a neutral system, but if discovered now, the Empire would surely catch up before she could escape. She activated the pod's emergency thrusters and prepared for evasive maneuvers. Ethan, now within visual range, saw the small shuttle emerge from behind the asteroid. His eyes widened. This was no ordinary craft. He activated his ship's communication array and tried a standard hailing protocol. "Unidentified craft, identify yourself," his voice echoed in the empty void. There was no response. Lyra's heart raced. She considered hiding, but she also knew that humans were different from her people. They did not always act with cruelty. Perhaps they could help her. She activated the pod's secondary communication system. "Please, I need help," she said, her voice soft but firm, hoping the translator would adjust properly. Ethan froze. The voice was not mechanical. It was alive, pleading, and unmistakably intelligent. He hesitated, then activated his ship's tractor beam carefully, guiding the pod into a safe position near his vessel. "You're safe. For now," he said. "Tell me who you are." Lyra exhaled, relief washing over her. She stepped out of the shuttle slowly, revealing herself. Her appearance startled Ethan. She was not human, but her features were strikingly familiar in their subtle expressions and gestures. Her hair shimmered silver, and her eyes glowed faintly with a soft light that seemed almost alive. Her dress, though simple, bore insignia that hinted at royal status. "I am Princess Lyra of Verona," she said quietly. "I fled my planet. My father, he is not a man you can reason with. I need protection." Ethan's mind raced. A princess? An alien princess? And fleeing from an empire capable of enslaving worlds? He had read about such things in history books, but to witness it firsthand was something else entirely. He nodded slowly. "You're coming with me," he said. "We'll figure out the rest together." As Lyra followed him aboard his ship, the alarm systems of Verona's palace detected the absence of the princess. Emperor Zarkon's face appeared on the holodisplay, filled with fury. "She dares defy me?" he growled. "Send the hunter drones! Find her! Bring her back! Alive!" Lyra's pulse quickened as she felt the first tremors of pursuit. She had expected this. The Empire would not allow her freedom easily. But with Ethan's help, she felt a small spark of hope. She studied the human closely. There was something different about him. A calm intelligence, a courage that reminded her of the legends she had heard about humans. Perhaps this was why she had come here. Over the next few hours, they navigated through asteroid fields and uncharted regions of space. Lyra shared what she knew of the Empire's technology, teaching Ethan how to avoid detection from Imperial sensors. In return, Ethan explained human ships, navigation, and resourcefulness. They learned to trust each other quickly. Despite coming from worlds so different, a bond formed between them, forged in the shared danger of pursuit. Night fell on Earth's side of the solar system, though it was only artificial light in the vastness of space. In the quiet moments, Lyra looked at Ethan and asked questions, not about politics or technology, but about humans themselves. She was fascinated by their courage, their ingenuity, and their ability to survive with limited resources. Ethan smiled, amused. "We've survived a lot," he said simply. "You'd be surprised what humans can do when they have to." As they approached a hidden outpost on the edge of human territory, Ethan's ship picked up signals of approaching Imperial drones. Lyra's heart raced. They were close now, too close. But instead of panic, a strange sense of determination settled over her. She would not let the Empire take her back. Not now, not ever. And she could see that humans, this one human at least, were ready to fight with her. The outpost appeared ahead, nestled on a rocky moon. Its lights were faint, and sensors would detect little from space. Ethan guided them down carefully, landing with precision. They had made it, for now. Inside the small base, Lyra breathed deeply, feeling the weight of her decision settle over her. She had left everything behind, and the Empire would come for her. Yet, in the company of a human who seemed to understand courage in ways her own people could not, she felt hope. For the first time in her life, she imagined a future not defined by fear and tyranny, but by choices, alliances, and trust. Ethan looked at her and said, "We'll keep you safe, but you need to tell me everything, the truth about your father, your world, and what he wants to do. Only then can we plan how to stop him." Lyra nodded. She knew the road ahead would be dangerous, perhaps more dangerous than anything she had ever faced, but she was ready. For the first time, she was not running from fear. She was running toward freedom. And far across the galaxy, in the heart of Verona, Emperor Zarkon's anger grew. His daughter had escaped him, and the hunt had only just begun. The stars stretched infinitely around them, and in that vastness, two unlikely allies prepared for the fight of their lives, a human and an alien princess, bound together by courage, trust, and a hope that even the greatest empire could not crush. The hidden outpost was small and isolated, carved into the surface of a rocky moon orbiting a barren gas giant. Its walls were reinforced with layers of human-made alloys and shields designed to hide it from sensors. Inside, Lyra moved cautiously, her eyes scanning every corner. The base was nothing like the vast, gleaming cities of Verona. The walls were plain, and the lights flickered slightly, but to her, there was a certain strength in the simplicity. Humans had survived on far less and still thrived. Ethan led her to a private chamber. "It's not much," he said, "but it's safe. For now." He paused, studying her closely. "I need to know everything if we're going to survive." Lyra hesitated. The truth about Verona and her father was dangerous to speak, even in a hidden outpost. But she could sense that Ethan was different. He did not judge or question her worth. He only wanted to understand. She took a deep breath. "My father rules with fear. He does not care about life outside this empire. He plans to expand, to take planets and enslave their people, including humans. I cannot allow that." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "You're saying your father wants to conquer Earth?" Lyra nodded. "And many other worlds. His fleets are vast. His technology is powerful. Alone, humans cannot fight him. But with knowledge, strategy, and courage, perhaps there is a chance." Ethan leaned back, rubbing his jaw. "Knowledge and courage are all humans have sometimes. Maybe that will be enough." He smiled faintly. "It won't be easy, but we can start by hiding you and learning more about his ships." Lyra agreed. She spent the next hours showing Ethan what she knew of Verona's technology. She explained how their ships were powered, how their weapons functioned, and how their sensors worked. Ethan absorbed every detail, his mind racing with possibilities. He made sketches and plans, imagining how humans could adapt these ideas with their own technology. As night fell over the gas giant, the two of them worked quietly. The outpost's crew, a small team of engineers and scouts, watched the alien princess with curiosity and caution. They had heard the stories of Verona, of the empire that crushed planets beneath its fleets, and yet here she was, standing among them, asking for their help. It was both terrifying and inspiring. During a break, Lyra wandered to a window overlooking the barren landscape. The moon was silent, cold, and distant from the warmth of its sun, yet she felt a strange comfort here. Ethan approached, carrying a tray of food. "It's not much," he said, setting it down, "but it's safe, and it's yours." Lyra looked at him, a soft smile forming. "I never expected kindness from humans. You are different from what I imagined." Ethan shrugged. "Maybe we surprise people. Or maybe it's just that we know what it means to fight for survival." For a long time they ate in silence, each lost in thoughts of the Empire and the battles to come. Lyra considered the humans she had just met. They were fragile compared to her people, yet in their eyes she saw determination and resourcefulness. She realized that the stories of humans being weak or primitive were far from the truth. There was strength in their ability to endure, to adapt, and to think in ways that her own people rarely did. The next day, Ethan gathered a small team to begin preparing for the inevitable. They reinforced the outpost's shields, created hidden escape routes, and modified ships to be faster and more maneuverable. Lyra assisted, using her knowledge of alien technology to improve their systems. Together, they turned the modest outpost into a hidden fortress, capable of defending against scouting drones and small strikes. Despite the preparations, Lyra could not ignore the tension in the air. "The Empire will find us," she said one evening, her voice low. "They will send scouts, and if we are discovered, they will attack with everything they have." Ethan nodded. "Then we make sure we are ready. We fight smart, not just hard." He paused. "And humans, we have something they may underestimate. Creativity, we improvise, we survive, and sometimes that is stronger than technology." Lyra felt a surge of admiration for him. His confidence was not reckless. It was grounded in understanding. She realized that humans had a type of courage her people often lacked. Verona's citizens relied on orders, on strict hierarchy, on obedience. Humans, by contrast, relied on their minds, their intuition, and their hearts. Days passed, and the first sign of danger arrived in the form of a small scouting ship, barely visible against the stars. Sensors detected its approach, and alarms sounded throughout the outpost. Ethan and Lyra worked quickly, coordinating their defenses. They had no desire to engage in open battle yet, but they could prepare traps and decoys. The scouting ship moved closer, sending out pulses to scan for life forms. Lyra's eyes narrowed as she guided the team. "Their sensors will look for large energy signatures. Reduce your emissions. Hide in shadows. Humans are clever. Use it." Ethan grinned. "You mean humans are good at hiding and tricking people? I like that. Let's see if we can teach them a lesson they won't forget." They executed a series of clever maneuvers. Small drones were launched to create false signals, mimicking activity in multiple directions. Shields were adjusted to absorb energy readings, and hidden turrets were primed in case the scout got too close. It was a delicate dance, requiring patience, precision, and nerves of steel. The alien scout, despite its advanced technology, fell for the human ingenuity. It reported false readings back to the Empire, leaving the outpost undetected. When the ship finally retreated, Ethan exhaled deeply, and Lyra allowed herself a small smile. "You humans may be unpredictable," she said, "but that unpredictability, it can be powerful." Ethan nodded. "And don't forget, we adapt fast. You taught me some tricks, but we add our own." The victory was small but significant. For the first time, Lyra saw that humans were capable of standing against forces far larger than themselves. She felt hope blossom in her chest, a feeling she had rarely experienced on Verona. Perhaps here, among humans, she could find allies strong enough to challenge her father. But even in the quiet moments, a shadow loomed. Lyra had discovered a subtle anomaly in the outpost's systems, a trace of data that suggested someone was feeding information to the Empire. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to worry her. Trust was fragile in times of war, and one mistake could doom them all. Ethan noticed her unease. "What's wrong?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "I am not certain, but someone here may be helping my father's empire. We must be careful. Humans can be brave, but they can also be misguided." Together they began quietly investigating, watching for unusual behavior, checking communications, and analyzing the systems. It was slow work, but necessary. They could not afford to make mistakes, not when the Empire would soon realize the princess had fled. As they worked, their bond grew stronger. Lyra began to understand human humor, their courage, and their way of thinking. Ethan, in turn, learned from her knowledge of strategy, technology, and alien culture. They were two very different beings, yet together they formed a team that could challenge the might of an empire. One night, as the moons of the gas giant reflected faint light across the rocky surface, Lyra confided in Ethan. "I never imagined I would find someone I could trust so quickly," she said softly. Ethan looked at her, his expression serious but gentle. "Trust is earned, and right now, we need each other more than anything. The Empire is coming whether we are ready or not, but together, we can survive. We can fight back." Lyra nodded. She felt a renewed determination. Her life had changed forever the moment she left Verona, but she no longer feared the unknown. Humans, fragile though they seemed, were strong in ways her empire could never understand. And if they could survive together, perhaps there was a chance to challenge the darkness that threatened the galaxy. The days that followed were filled with training, preparation, and careful reconnaissance. Lyra learned to pilot human ships, adapting her knowledge of alien technology to systems she had never imagined. Ethan taught her about human strategy, improvisation, and the ability to turn the simplest tools into weapons of clever design. It was during one of these sessions that the spy revealed himself, a young engineer tempted by promises of wealth and power from the Empire. He tried to escape with sensitive information, but Lyra and Ethan acted quickly, using a combination of human traps and alien strategy to capture him without harm. The incident reinforced their trust in each other and in their small team. "We cannot allow fear to control us," Lyra said firmly after the spy was secured. "We fight with intelligence, courage, and care. That is what will save us." Ethan smiled. "And that, Princess, is why humans are worth more than your father knows. We don't just survive, we adapt, we create, we fight back, and now we have you to guide us." Lyra looked around at the outpost, at the humans preparing defenses, and at the distant stars beyond. She felt a fierce hope. For the first time, she believed that freedom was possible, not just for herself, but for countless worlds that had suffered under the Empire. And far away, hidden among the stars, the first Imperial patrols of Verona moved silently toward the solar system. They did not know that the princess had already begun teaching humans how to fight back. They did not know that the small, fragile beings they underestimated would soon show the strength that only courage, intelligence, and heart could create. In the quiet, Lyra whispered to herself, "The Empire will learn the meaning of courage. They will learn that humans are not so weak after all." The stage was set. The Empire was coming. But with the alliance of a human captain and an alien princess, the first threads of resistance had been woven, and the battle for survival, ingenuity, and freedom had only just begun. The calm of the hidden outpost did not last long. Scouts from Verona had finally detected the faint energy signatures left behind by Lyra's escape pod. They moved swiftly, using cloaked patrol ships to sweep through the solar system. For the humans and Lyra, the time for preparation had ended. There would be no more hiding. The Empire's arrival was imminent. Lyra stood with Ethan and the outpost's engineers, studying the approaching fleet. The main Imperial ships were enormous, glinting with the cold light of distant stars. Each carried weapons capable of destroying planets, and their numbers far outmatched anything the humans could deploy. She had seen these ships in orbit above Verona, and the sight of them here, in the human sector, made her stomach twist with anxiety and determination. Ethan's hands moved quickly over the control panels. "We don't have numbers," he said, "but we have brains and speed. If we play this right, we can turn the fight in our favor, at least for the start." Lyra nodded. "We can use the asteroid fields nearby. Their sensors will have difficulty distinguishing us from natural matter. And we can set traps using drones." Over the next hours, humans and Lyra worked tirelessly. They modified their ships with improvised weapons, strengthened shields using a combination of alien and human technology, and placed decoys to confuse enemy scanners. Lyra guided the designs, showing how energy beams could be redirected and how smaller craft could exploit the larger ship's blind spots. Ethan, impressed by her knowledge, adapted her strategies to human instincts, adding layers of unpredictability the Empire would not anticipate. By the time the first Imperial scouts appeared near the outer asteroid belt, humans were ready. Lyra's eyes scanned the fleet's movement patterns, recognizing their tactics from years of observation on Verona. "They move with precision, but they are predictable," she said. "We can use that?" Ethan grinned. "Predictable is good. That means we can set traps." The first clash was swift and silent. Small human drones, guided by Lyra's instructions, appeared out of hidden asteroid cover. They launched bursts of energy that disrupted the scout ship's sensors. The scouts, expecting a clear path, were confused. Using the chaos, Ethan piloted his strike craft through the enemy formation, dodging energy beams with instinctive skill. Lyra watched from the outpost control center, coordinating the defense. "Left flank now! Keep them from regrouping!" she commanded, her voice steady despite the danger. Humans moved with precision, following her directions while improvising when necessary. Explosions and energy flares lit the darkness of space as the first wave of scouts was forced into retreat. The initial victory brought relief but no celebration. Lyra knew the Empire's main fleet was still approaching. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Their real attack will be massive. We must be ready." Ethan nodded. "Then let's make sure we're not just ready. We're smart." He gathered a team to prepare the smaller human ships for a more daring tactic. They planned to use the asteroid fields as cover, strike at the largest Imperial vessels, and retreat before the enemy could react. The humans' resourcefulness shone as they rigged civilian freighters with makeshift weapons and shields. They adapted mining lasers to fire energy blasts, used cargo containers as improvised armor, and even modified navigation systems to outmaneuver the larger, slower Imperial ships. Lyra watched in amazement. These humans were clever beyond expectation. They were willing to risk themselves to fight for survival, and that willingness made them dangerous opponents. As the main fleet entered the sector, the battle intensified. Massive Imperial ships opened fire, their energy beams tearing through space with lethal precision. Ethan's strike craft darted between asteroids, drawing enemy fire while smaller human ships launched surprise attacks. Lyra coordinated remotely, using her knowledge of Verona technology to anticipate the Empire's strategies and guide the human forces. Despite their ingenuity, the humans were outmatched. Several ships were damaged or destroyed, and the outpost itself shook under the impact of distant energy blasts. Lyra clenched her fists, refusing to let fear take hold. "Focus on the weak points," she shouted. "Target their engines, their shields, avoid their main weapons." The humans adapted, their creativity and courage turning the tide in unexpected ways. One pilot, using a small freighter, rammed a decoy ship into the path of a massive laser cannon, forcing it to misfire and giving another human vessel the chance to strike the enemy's weak point. Another used a mining drone to jam the sensors of a Verona command ship, confusing its targeting systems long enough for Ethan's craft to attack. Lyra marveled at how humans thought differently. They did not rely solely on strength or numbers. They used intuition, improvisation, and risk. Each small victory gave them confidence, and even the outpost engineers began coordinating attacks, using hidden turrets and energy shields to trap Imperial scouts. Hours passed in a blur of motion, strategy, and courage. Lyra's voice guided the humans through the chaos, her knowledge of the Empire giving them an edge. Yet the Empire adapted quickly, sending larger and more powerful ships into the fray. Ethan realized that survival depended not just on clever tactics, but on daring action. He piloted his craft directly toward the lead command ship, drawing fire while smaller vessels attacked from unexpected angles. Energy beams slammed against his shields, testing their limits, but he maneuvered with skill and instinct. Lyra directed his movements, calling out weak points and coordinating attacks across the battlefield. It was a dance of strategy, courage, and trust. The turning point came when Lyra suggested a bold maneuver. "We cannot fight them head-on," she said. "We must force them to overextend. Lead them into the asteroid field, then strike at their engines and shields simultaneously. We can win, but only if we act together." Ethan relayed the plan to the pilots. It was risky, but they trusted her judgment. The human ships moved as one, using the asteroid field as cover. The Imperial fleet, confident in their superior firepower, pursued. Energy blasts collided with asteroids, creating explosions that lit the void of space with brilliant flashes. Lyra coordinated every strike, predicting the enemy's movements and guiding the humans to exploit vulnerabilities. One by one, Imperial ships faltered. Engines were disabled, shields were broken, and command vessels were forced to retreat. Despite the overwhelming power of the Empire, human ingenuity and courage had created a battlefield where numbers did not matter as much as strategy and creativity. In the aftermath, the outpost remained standing, damaged but resilient. The humans and Lyra took stock of their losses, tending to the wounded and repairing what they could. Ethan looked at Lyra, his face smeared with sweat and grime but filled with determination. "We did it," he said, voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." Lyra smiled, a mixture of relief and pride in her expression. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The Empire will return, stronger than ever, but now they know that humans are not to be underestimated." The victory, though hard-won, had given them more than just survival. It had shown the humans what they were capable of when they combined courage, intelligence, and heart. It had also given Lyra something she had never known before: faith in humans, and in their ability to face impossible odds. As they worked through the night repairing ships and reinforcing defenses, Lyra reflected on what had occurred. Humans were fragile compared to Verona, yet they were unpredictable, daring, and resilient. Their creativity turned weakness into strength, and their courage gave them the power to challenge even the most formidable foes. Ethan approached her as she studied a damaged energy shield. "You know," he said, "I never thought humans could do this. Not against a fleet like theirs." Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "They can," she said. "Not because they are stronger, but because they refuse to give up. That is what makes them dangerous." The stars stretched endlessly beyond the outpost, and somewhere far across the galaxy, the Emperor's fleet regrouped. Verona would not forget this defeat, and the Empire would come again. But the humans had proven themselves. They had survived against impossible odds, using nothing more than courage, ingenuity, and the guidance of a princess who had chosen to believe in them. Lyra felt a sense of purpose, stronger than fear. The Empire would return, but humans now had allies who understood them, strategies they could trust, and the knowledge that they could stand against even the mightiest powers of the galaxy. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. And as Lyra and Ethan prepared for the next challenge, they knew one truth above all. Humans, when united by courage and guided by knowledge, could achieve the impossible. The silence after the battle was almost deafening. The remnants of the Verona fleet had retreated, leaving the human outpost battered but standing. Smoke curled from damaged ships, and the hum of energy shields filled the air. Lyra moved through the outpost with calm determination, helping the engineers assess the damage and prepare defenses. She had seen her father's fleets crush worlds without mercy. Yet here, humans had survived and even won against superior forces. That was something worth more than celebration. It was proof of their potential. Ethan joined her, wiping grime from his face. "It's over. For now," he said, his voice weary but steady. "We held them off. They underestimated us." Lyra nodded, her silver eyes reflecting both relief and thoughtfulness. "They will not underestimate humans again," she said. "But this victory is only temporary. The Empire will return with greater force." Ethan studied her. "Then we prepare. We don't wait for them to come. We build, we train, and we make sure humans are ready." Over the following days, the outpost became a hub of activity. Lyra worked alongside human engineers, teaching them how to integrate Verona technology with their ships, shields, and weapons. She showed them how to reinforce engines, optimize energy distribution, and even how to use cloaking techniques for stealth maneuvers. The humans adapted quickly, their creativity turning alien technology into something uniquely their own. While the humans worked, Lyra also shared lessons of strategy and diplomacy. She taught them about Verona's command structure, their likely responses to different tactics, and even the weaknesses of the Imperial mind. Humans listened eagerly, asking questions, proposing ideas, and adding their own insights. Lyra realized that her people had relied too much on strict rules and orders. Humans, in contrast, relied on thought, intuition, and courage. That combination made them unpredictable, and therefore powerful. Ethan observed her quietly one evening as she adjusted a small energy shield prototype. "You really believe humans can fight the Empire?" he asked. Lyra smiled faintly. "I do. Not because humans are stronger, but because they refuse to surrender. They think differently, act differently, and take risks I have never seen in my world. That is what makes them formidable." The bond between Lyra and Ethan had grown strong. They trusted each other completely, their skills complementing one another. Ethan had learned tactics from Lyra, and she had learned the patience and adaptability of humans. Together, they formed a team capable of challenging even the mightiest forces of Verona. As preparations continued, word reached the outpost that the Empire's fleet was regrouping in a nearby star system. Scouts reported massive reinforcements, far larger than what had initially attacked. Lyra's face hardened. "They will come," she said, "but we are no longer the same humans they underestimated. We are ready." Ethan nodded. "Then we fight, not just to survive, but to show them that humans are not to be ignored." The humans rallied around Lyra, inspired by her courage and knowledge. Civilians volunteered to assist, pilots trained tirelessly, and engineers worked day and night. Together, they created a defensive network that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. Every trap, every turret, every shield was designed to give them the best chance against the overwhelming Imperial fleet. When the fleet finally arrived, the humans were prepared. The Verona ships descended into the system with confidence, expecting to crush the outpost and reclaim the princess. Instead, they were met with a web of defenses, unexpected attacks, and the clever unpredictability of humans. Lyra directed the battle from the central control room, coordinating every strike and movement. Ethan led the strike craft, weaving through energy beams, drawing attention while smaller human ships attacked weak points. Civilians assisted by controlling remote drones, creating decoys, and monitoring enemy movements. It was chaos, but a controlled chaos, each action carefully planned and executed with creativity and courage. The battle was fierce. Massive ships fired energy beams that tore through asteroid fields, but human pilots used the terrain to their advantage, evading fire and counterattacking. Lyra guided them, predicting enemy movements and exploiting weaknesses. Small freighters became weapons, mining drones jammed sensors, and improvised shields absorbed attacks that would have destroyed larger ships. Ethan felt the exhilaration of the fight. Humans were outnumbered, but every success, every clever maneuver demonstrated the strength that numbers alone could not provide. He realized that the humans' greatest weapon was not technology, but creativity, courage, and determination. In the midst of the chaos, Lyra faced a moral challenge. One of the Imperial command ships had identified her position and was preparing a devastating attack. She knew that taking it out would require using force against her own people. She hesitated for a moment, thinking of her father and her past life. Then she realized that protecting countless innocent lives outweighed loyalty to an empire built on fear and cruelty. With a steady hand, she directed the strike, disabling the command ship without harming the crew unnecessarily. The human forces seized the advantage. With the command ship neutralized and the remaining fleet disoriented by unexpected tactics, humans pushed back. Energy beams collided with asteroids, ships maneuvered through narrow passages, and Lyra's strategies guided every move. Slowly, the Empire's fleet was forced to retreat, unable to overcome the clever and courageous humans. When the last Imperial ships disappeared into the distance, the humans cheered. The outpost had survived, lives had been saved, and a clear message had been sent across the stars. Humans were not weak, and they could stand against the mightiest empire. Ethan looked at Lyra, awe and pride in his eyes. "We did it," he said. "We actually did it. Against all odds." Lyra smiled, her expression a mixture of relief and pride. "Yes," she said. "And it shows what humans can achieve when they are brave, clever, and united. You have proven your worth, not to me, but to the galaxy." In the following days, the outpost worked to rebuild and strengthen their defenses. Lyra continued teaching humans, preparing them for the inevitable return of the Empire. She also began sharing knowledge of diplomacy, trade, and alliances, helping humans understand their potential place in the galaxy beyond mere survival. Ethan and Lyra often worked together late into the night, planning, repairing, and training. Their partnership had grown beyond mere strategy. It had become a deep trust, a shared belief in the possibilities of courage and cooperation. Humans had inspired Lyra as much as she had guided them. Together, they envisioned a future where humans and aliens could stand side by side, facing challenges with ingenuity and heart. Lyra's choice had become clear. She would not return to Verona. Her people, ruled by fear and tyranny, could no longer dictate her actions. Instead, she would stay with humans, using her knowledge to help them grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of defending themselves. In this small outpost, among beings who had faced impossible odds and prevailed, she had found a home. The victory also sent ripples across the galaxy. Other worlds under threat began to hear of humans' ingenuity and courage, and whispers of hope spread among oppressed civilizations. Lyra's defection and the humans' triumph became symbols of resistance, showing that even the smallest and seemingly weakest could stand against tyranny when united by courage, creativity, and heart. Ethan and Lyra stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Still, they were ready. Together, humans and Lyra had shown that intelligence, courage, and determination could match the most advanced technology and the greatest armies. Lyra turned to Ethan, her voice calm but determined. "The Empire will return, stronger than ever. But now, they know that humans are not to be underestimated. And when they come, we will be ready. Together." Ethan nodded. "And we'll face them as humans always do, with courage, creativity, and heart." In the silence of space, beyond the reach of the Empire, humans had proven their worth. They had survived, adapted, and triumphed, not because of sheer force, but because they were clever, brave, and united. Lyra knew that the future held challenges, but with humans by her side, she believed they could face anything. And as the stars stretched infinitely around them, one truth became clear. The greatest strength of humanity was not in weapons, ships, or technology. It was in their courage, their ingenuity, and their refusal to surrender. That strength would guide them through the battles to come, shaping a future where humans could stand proud among the stars, allies to those who sought freedom, and defenders of hope against tyranny. Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of peace she had never known on Verona. She had fled a throne, but she had found something far greater: trust, partnership, and a chance to help shape a galaxy where courage and intelligence could triumph over fear and oppression. As she watched the distant stars, she whispered to herself, "Humans, you are stronger than you know." And in that quiet, infinite expanse, the future began. A future where humans, guided by courage and knowledge, would rise to challenges no one else thought they could face. A future where the galaxy would learn the true meaning of ingenuity, bravery, and heart. A future where the story of a princess who fled her throne would inspire worlds to believe that even the smallest and seemingly weakest could change the course of history.